Good morning to all my viewers out there. Thousands of them, literally. Thanks again for watching my channel. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Tales from the Loop, springboarding off of my review from just a couple days ago. I wanted to share with you the custom scenario that I made up for my group here. It's morning for me here. It's the first time I've done a morning show. This is kind of a day off for me slash but I also have some work that I'm going to be doing remotely today. But I figured before I got into my work, let's do a really quick Tales from the Loop, little adventure session and everything, and give you an idea for the first scenario that I use with my group, and hopefully I can bring some inspiration to you, for you GMs out there. So first of all, it's morning, so there is a drink of the day today. It's dark coffee with one sugar and some, like, I use the flavored vanilla half and half cream. I was looking for a good coffee mug to drink today, and I realized, as right before I was doing this video and I was fixing myself this coffee, the vast majority of my coffee mugs actually have Disney properties on them. So the problem being with that is I know that I am nervous about having anything that is Disney themed in any of my videos. So I just wanted to go with my dad mug here and show you that in addition to maintaining a 50-hour-a-week job and a boring internet channel, I am, in fact, a very successful dad. However, a disclaimer, I don't even pretend to be in charge in my house. My wife definitely is the queen and runs the show, which, quite frankly, is just the way that I want it. Okay, so today I'm not going to really, this is for you GMs today, so I'm not going to go into the Tales from the Loop system here because I've already reviewed that in another channel. That was kind of a late night when I was very sleepy. Going back through and watching that video again, I realized I was kind of all over the place. But if you talked to me or met me in real life, you'd know that my mind kind of works like the old 1980s MTV, where I just lack an internal filter and just start speaking everything, which is why maybe I'm destined to have an internet channel. So anyhow, before I ramble too far, let's talk about what I did with my Tales from the Loop group. I had a group that started out with 6 players, which seems to be kind of a lot. I have a very unique problem from most other GMs that I meet online. A lot of the GMs have problems with finding good players locally in their area. So a lot of people turn to online resources and what have you. I do not have that problem. My problem is the opposite problem, where I have probably 12 or 15 fantastic role players in and around my area here that I've met and we've played games and what have you. So I have to pick 6 players at a time. So I'm usually trying to cram as many players into my groups as much. But I would say that the perfect group for most role-playing games, and Tales from the Loop is no exception, is 4 or 5 is probably good. 6 is a maximum that I would go. I've heard people running campaigns of 7 or 8. I just don't know how that could possibly work, especially with a heavy story-based game like Tales from the Loop, where each character there's a main plot that goes on, and then all the characters have their side plots. The cool thing about GMing Tales from the Loop is you don't have to really maintain the side plots, because the players make up their own side plots. They make up their own challenges and troubles at home and things like that. All you have to do is react to that and inspire that. Like, for instance, in one session of our adventure, one of my players had an alcoholic father, and one night when they had snuck out and they were trying to track these disappearances and strange sightings in the town, and they were sneaking around, they saw her father that was slumped over in a car, and of course my adventuring players had, they suspected nefarious results, but it wound up he was just DUI and was passed out in the car, and she didn't even wake him up, and she got very upset about it, and the character, and then they just kind of moved on. So anyway, you can throw that's just one example of how you can throw your characters' little cookies and tidbits. One of the other things I really like about Tales from the Loop, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk about the role-playing game in general, the nice thing about it is when you are dealing with people that are very busy, players that are very busy, it's hard to get the group together all the time. And because of story-based epic campaigning, it's very difficult sometimes to get your group, to get everyone there on time to play on a weekly basis. The thing that is absolutely brilliant about Tales from the Loop is that if one player can't make it that week, then it's very easy to cover for. You just say, yeah, he's feeling sick and he can't come out and play. Or, yeah, he yelled at his brother and so now he's grounded. And we used this mechanic quite a bit so that we didn't have to cancel our games, because the way that we would work our games is, I'm not the big, I've got so many things going on I don't want to run. I don't like running players as NPCs if they don't show up. I certainly don't like having players run other players. So usually what we'll do is given the epic story nature of my other campaigns, we'll usually postpone if one or two people can't come. But in Tales from the Loop, it was very easy for us to press on and to have everyone continue to move forward, and just have the kid be sick or have the kid get in trouble or grounded and what have you. And that worked really well. Okay, so let's talk about how I GM'd it. So the first thing we did, pardon me, the first thing that we did was I had them start out in the year 2015. And I had not, at that time, I had not read Things from the Flood. So I was kind of guessing what 2015 would look like in the Tales from the Loop universe. So I had them meeting at... so it's important to understand that our group went ahead and they decided we are not from Idaho, but looking around to the type of population size that we wanted, the access to military bases, and then we also wanted seasons. We didn't like the Las Vegas part because it was just desert out there. And part of the inspiration of Tales from the Loop is the beautiful snow paintings and stuff. So we wanted somewhere where it was going to snow. So we picked Boise, Idaho. It's close enough to where everyone had a familiarity with the way that it would look and everything. So... there we go. And this is what we did with ours. I am not, if you've watched my channel before, I am not a technically brilliant person and everything. So all I did was I picked a small town in Idaho that was just outside of Boise, just north of Boise, and went ahead and just looked it up on Google Maps. And all I did was use just like the paint feature and made this little map of the loop facility and everything. And this was such a great little small town. It has access to a big lake right there. And then also, if you look, this is how far it is from Boise. I know that, this is, you can look this up on your own. But the other thing I did was I Googled, sorry, one second. I Googled military bases in Idaho, and I got all of these here. And I found that there was all these military installations and stuff that were close by, and that was something that I really wanted to be able to have in my campaign and everything. So what we did was at the very beginning, we went ahead and I had it take place at a bar in Boise in 2015. And the kids were adults at that time. And I had them meet together, and I gave them a sheet of paper that said, all right, look, so this is the deal that you all know. Let me see if I can pull that up here. I thought I had it in a Word document. I'm sorry. I have it in another folder. So what I had done, I don't have this up here. What I had done was I had a listing of the things that they know. And I said to them, okay, well, look, here's the thing is you guys made a vow that after you graduated high school that you would never see each other again for your own safety, that you had seen strange and ominous things, and that you had seen people die from your experiences. And just a couple weeks ago, you got a very strange email from one of the players One of the players is almost like a Mikey kind of character from the Goonies, and I hate to use that that example because it's Goonies is a little more funny and lighthearted than the way that we run our campaigns, but kind of like the leader of the group, the little unofficial kind of. He's like the smaller, less confident, but he was also kind of the spiritual leader, the nerdy kid of their group. And he sends out an email to them to have them all get together. And this is something that I worked with that player on, and we talked about it in private before we started our session. And then what they did was they met at this, and I told everyone you should all be paranoid and very secretive, and one character even came in disguise when they showed up at this bar to see each other for the first time in almost 30 years. And so they show up at the bar and they sit down, and everybody talks a little minute about where they've been and what they've been doing and stuff. And then the nerdy character comes in, and he's older, but he's matured and whatnot, but he's very, very nervous. And he sits there and tells the other kids, and this was something that I scripted beforehand. I said, after you guys have gotten to know each other, I want you to look at the other players and I want you to say, I think she found us. And nobody knows what it is, what she is, and I didn't tell anyone what she is. Obviously, this is a character that's going to be coming up in the campaign. And what he did was, at the minute that he says, I think she found us, I went ahead and started playing Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. And then I said September 19th, 1985. And as the song starts playing, I have the character that's riding on his bike, and I'm describing him riding on his bike and everything as he's going to school. And then what he does is he picks up every single kid on their way to school, and they role play it out and everything. And it was such a cool transition. And the song was perfect for the starting. It felt like you were sitting there watching the beginning of an 80s movie. So let's talk about the setting that I use, or the story that I use. So in the story there, pardon me, and I told you that I was going to do this short, and I'm already at like 12 minutes here. So in the story, the inspiration that I had was my adventure was the love child of the movie Super 8, and it was also, I was very inspired by a Call of Cthulhu adventure. I'm a huge Call of Cthulhu fan. I know I'm always raving about Free League, but I've been playing Call of Cthulhu for years. So there's this book, and this one's very old, but you can get it in PDF, and it is called Adventures in Arkham County. And in this book, there is one of my favorite Call of Cthulhu adventures is one that is called The Happy Family. And a happy family, I should say. So in The Happy Family, there is this crazy guy. Okay, spoilers. Again, this is a spoiler video. If I haven't said it enough, and I'll try and put it in the notes and everything, but if you are going to be a player, this is not the video for you, so stop watching right now. Anyway, in A Happy Family, it's about this really nerdy guy who's like the caretaker who's fallen in love with this local girl and whatnot, and he is what would be the 1920s equivalent of a basement dweller, the guy that pees in jugs and plays World of Warcraft all day. So he's very socially isolated, and so this guy here, he finds an ancient book in this house in which he's able to summon what's called a buy-a-key. And then what the buy-a-key does, and this is the nerdy guy right here, the buy-a-key then he's very jealous of this local man and his family. And so what he does is he has the buy-a-key come by and steals the man's family. And as he does this, each time he steals a family member, he winds up killing them. And he brings them to the guy, the master, the buy-a-key, brings the family members to the nerdy guy, to the antagonist. And what he does is he has this abandoned house that he's the caretaker of, and he sets them up and poses them in the house to be his family. And meanwhile, they're sitting there and they're decomposing and stuff, but he talks to them and he fixes them dinner. And like the son is dead there, and he's lecturing him about being a good boy and what have you. So it was very creepy. It's a very disturbing adventure, and very very scary, and I was very inspired by it for this one. So the idea behind my Tales from the Loop adventure, and I'll summarize it really quick, was that so the power goes out one night with the kids, and a lot of the kids, in my group, their families work in the loop. And they were trapped in the loop. The power went out, it came back on, but then there was some sort of quarantine. Make a long story short, they start to see the DART security edge out into the town like they're looking for something. And then under the cover of disaster relief, the National Guard shows up, and they're all looking around, and rather than doing like restoring power and doing disaster relief, the kids are seeing that the National Guard are actually driving around looking for something. Well, what had happened is that, and they didn't find this out until the climax of the show. Oh, and then people start disappearing. First, a local autistic girl, and then a female jogger, and then later a truck driver winds up disappearing. And everybody's out there looking for, and I actually played a scene with them interacting with the young autistic girl as she's walking to school one day. So it created a personal connection to them. Another little note too is one of the very first scenes I had was they were in their English class discussing Frankenstein's monster, and we'll come back to that. But they had a discussion about Frankenstein's monster and the ethics behind it, and really the pinpoint of the discussion was the monster was terrible and did terrible things, but was it truly evil? And we definitely will get back to that as we go on. So so what happens is the kids kind of figure out that the National Guard being there, the disaster relief is kind of a cover-up and what have you, and they realize that they're out there hunting. So what had happened is that the Swedish loop had sent a drone, like a robot drone, through their end of the loop as a test to try and get it to teleport and come out the other end in the Cascade, Idaho loop. Well, the drone itself did come out successfully, but something had attached itself, almost like an organic material had attached itself to the drone, and the drone had become self-aware. And the drone was the GR37-A, or Greta, is what it called itself. And once it came through, it became self-aware, and much like a scared child that was Greta, when she came through, was scared, she was lonely, but she was also prone to fits of rage and anger and whatnot. So being terribly lonely, the first thing that Greta decides is she's being hunted as she's walking around. And I have a picture that I downloaded off of, this was what I used to represent Greta. So picture this, but then picture it almost with like a organic, almost pulpy, muscular mass all kind of growing onto it, almost like a virus. So this is a picture that I got off of, I think it's a video game called Generation Zero. So I used a screenshot from Generation Zero. I just liked this robot. And for scale purposes, Greta is about, she's probably 7 or 8 feet tall. Okay, but she's got superhuman strength, and she's durable, what have you. But and when Greta spoke, it would be in a woman's voice, almost a young woman's voice, and very broken English. If you've ever watched the movie Congo, with the way that the ape uses the talking glove, sounds almost like that, Amy the talking ape, and that's kind of how I portrayed Greta speaking. So Greta is lonely and has decided that she wants to have a family, and so there's a cabin, a legend of a haunted cabin that's up in the woods outside of Cascade, Idaho, and Greta has, it was an abandoned logging camp is what it was. I'm sorry. There was an abandoned logging camp that Greta has taken shelter in, and she has gone out throughout the town, and she has gone looking for a family because she's lonely. And the first person that she winds up finding is the young autistic girl, and she's keeping the autistic girl alive by sustaining her on sodas from the Coke machine, and then also candy bars and Hostess snacks and what have you from the vending machines that are left over at the abandoned logging outpost. And she's keeping the little girl in the office area of this logging outpost. So there's like a main building and whatnot. And then the second person that she kidnaps, and so she actually does not kill the autistic girl. She sits the autistic girl down, and the autistic girl kind of goes catatonic, and she's sitting in front of a TV this entire time. And then the second person she gets is a local teacher who's out jogging, and unfortunately with her, the poor teacher winds up getting killed as Greta grabs her and takes her, and Greta puts her seated at a table, much like in the Happy Family story, and that's the mother. And she says, this is Greta's mom, Greta's mother, and when she points to the dead woman. And then lastly, the hostess truck driver Greta winds up getting hit by the truck, and then she tears open the truck, and the truck driver winds up taking the role of father, and Greta winds up killing him as she's dragging him back to the logging area. So the kids follow the clues, and they follow the clues back to the logging area there, and the climax is as one of the kids grabs the little autistic girl, the other kids figure out how to hot wire like a tractor. And the final battle is one of the kids the most athletic kid is running carrying the autistic girl, while one of the kids hot wires a crane and is swinging a crane down, trying to battle with Greta as Greta is trying to get her girl back. And the other kid is fighting her with like a tractor, and then another kid is running around trying to distract her. He's flashing a flashlight at her and yelling at her and what have you. And what winds up happening is they, much like in RoboCop, they wind up dropping a whole bunch of heavy logs on Greta, crushing her. And then as she's sitting there squirming, a deputy that they had befriended, Deputy Richards, who's also been out looking for this girl, shows up, and she puts a couple shotgun slugs right through Greta's CPU, and it winds up dispatching her. And then in the end of the show, in the end of the scenario, they're all walking to school, and the Greta's mom asks them to take the Greta and walk her to school because she feels safe with them walking her to school. And then we also had an epilogue that took place, and even though the kids couldn't see it, I played it out for them to kind of build things up. But there was a woman that was smoking a cigarette in the back of a tinted vehicle, and the people there's two men that are it's kind of like the Men in Black kind of thing, and they were sitting in the front seat, and they were having a conversation. The conversation went along with that the woman sits there and smokes on her cigarette and says, well, the Swedes are really pissed, and we're going to need to tie up the loose ends on this one. This is a hell of a mess. And, they look at one of the guys looks back at her, and they're in this limo, and they're watching the kids walk to school, and their friend, Deputy Richards, is sitting out in front of her. She's sitting in her patrol car out in front watching the kids walk to school too. And the guys look at her, and they say, well, the loose ends, what about the kids? And then she kind of ominously takes another drag on her cigarette and says, we tie up all the loose ends. And then the scenario ended. So that was it. I am 3 minutes over budget for this. So feel free to use that if you have any other questions about. There's a lot of specific scenes that I used, and we had some antagonists and villains that were in the Dart group. And then we also had some allies that were they met some of the National Guard members, which actually had befriended the kids and became allies and stuff. So anyway, yeah, go ahead, man. So that's it. Leave me any comments or likes in the comments section here. If you have any more specific questions or suggestions, or want to bounce some story ideas off of me, I'd love to talk about it with you in the comments section. In the meantime, thanks for watching. And you know what? Get out there and go find your loop. Okay, this is the most boring and technically inept internet channel out there, and I am signing off, and I'm going to finish my cup of coffee. Have a good one.